partners. And also responsibility to our colleagues, particularly when we are doing collaborative research, not just you doing the research, that is you are in a group conducting research. Also responsibility towards the employers, particularly if you are an employee of the university and you will conduct the study, then you are going to ask permission, for example, in the college team, if you are going to conduct a study in college, or if there will be different colleges, then you have to ask permission from the president or from the one in charge in the university. The same holds true, if you are going to conduct study in a particular barangay, you need to get permission from the barangay chairman. Or if you're going to conduct a study in the city or in the municipality, you need to ask permission from the city mayor or from the municipal mayor. That is conduct responsibility with responsibility to the employees. Also, to do research, you also have to be responsible to the funders of your study. Say, for example, if you're going to conduct a study that's funded by DOST, then you need to do the research with responsibility in relation to the funder of your study. And of course, doing research responsibility to the society. Because in the first place, they will be the beneficiary of our own findings later on, or the results of our study. On the other hand, when we speak of research integrity, this has nothing to do with responsibility to the participants, to your colleagues. That is, this research integrity has something to do with doing research in a way that your results cannot be questioned. We're saying there is confidence in the data or in the findings that you are showing to the people or showing to the community. We're saying your results, your findings in the study are correct. You did not manipulate the data, you did not doctor the data. So you have to stick to the data as gathered by you. The same way, you have to show the treatment that you did to the data. Because sometimes you may use a method in statistics which is not conducive to the data that you are able to gather. So you have to be conducting research in a way that you are confident of the results of your study. That is, that your study cannot be questioned because you did show everything. You did show the data, you treated the data well in a proper manner, and then you arrive at a particular interpretation or finding. So these two are different from each other: research ethics and research integrity. A while ago, there was a mention of the informed consent or the consent. And basically, there are three forms or three consent. We have informed consent. If the research participant is of the age of majority, we will say the participant is an adult. Okay? If the participant is not an adult, meaning the participant is a minor, then you need to get what we call parental consent. Why is it that we still have the assent, which was mentioned a while ago by our reporter? You have to get the assent even if there is already informed consent if the participant is 12 years old up to 17 years old. Okay? So if the participant is 10 years old, parental consent is enough. But if the participant is 12 years old up to 17, you get the parental consent plus you get the assent of the participant. Why? Because they can already think. 12 years old up to 17 years old, they can already think, but they cannot make yet a full decision. That's why you still need to have the parental consent. So get the parental consent, plus you need to get the assent. That is, that the research participant is voluntarily participating in the research, not just the parental consent. Yeah. So that makes the two different. So sometimes you need to get the assent, sometimes you do not need to get the assent. So just look at the age of the research participant. Now, a while ago, there was a mention of what we call informed consent and the content of the informed consent. Informed consent will answer different questions. So when you're going to get the informed consent of the research participant, particularly a written consent or written informed consent, because that will be part and parcel of your appendix, you need to get or you need to put the title of the study in your letter, your name as the researcher, of course, your contact information, plus the name of your advisor, if you have an advisor, and then the contact information of the advisor. So those details are necessary in your informed consent. After these two details about you as the researcher and about your advisor, then you will now make your informed consent and you will answer these different questions in your informed consent. So you have to put in the informed consent the purpose of your study. Why are you conducting the study? Or what is the reason why you are conducting the study? After the reason, then you now go to the question, why is the respondent being asked to participate in the study? So after giving the purpose, then why are you asking the participant? It must be in the first person. Okay? The letter must be in the first person. For example, you are being asked to participate in the study because you are a grade 3 pupil and the subject of the study are grade 3 pupils. So you have to mention one is the participant or the respondent being asked to be part of the study. Thirdly, what will the respondent be asking or what data will be gathered from the respondent? You have to mention that in the informed consent. Fourthly, how long will the respondent be in the study? Maybe it will take them 1 hour to answer a survey questionnaire, or maybe 30 minutes to answer a survey questionnaire, or if there will be a pre-test and post-test in the performance level of the students, then you have to mention how long will the respondent be in the study. And then where will the study take place? Will it be in the classroom? Will it be in a different classroom? Or will it be in this particular school? And then are there risks? You have to mention that. Okay? And what are these risks? And how will they be addressed? Because if you will only mention the risks, and then you will not mention how will they be addressed when you're conducting the research already and the risk will take effect or will take place, then you will not know what to do because you did not conceptualize on the risk that will be happening, for example. Like, for example, when the nursing students conducted their study, when the study is the experiences of a teenage mom. So, bata na nanay. So, they are going to interview the respondents, the teenage moms, about their experiences as teenage moms and like. During the interview, there will be a kind of a negative feeling that will be rising on the part of the teenage mom because she will be asked to be honest about her experiences. But then, it is something which is private. Okay? So, the moment that that will happen, what will be the, should we say, the action of the researcher if the teenage mom started crying? Okay? So, if the teenage mom started crying during the conduct of the interview, what will be the thing that will be done by the researcher? So, in the informed consent, if there will be risk, mention the risk, and how will the risk be addressed. Otherwise, you will have a problem during the conduct of the gathering of the data. Okay? Next one. What happens if the respondent does not choose to join the study? We just mentioned it is something voluntary. So therefore, if you will not join, then there will be no problem. Okay? And can the respondent stop or withdraw from the study even after it has started? So, for example, the respondent gave the informed consent, but in the middle of the data gathering, the respondent realized he does not want anymore to join in the study. Can he withdraw his participation in the study? So you have to mention that. Also, how will confidentiality be maintained? And how will data privacy be, should we say, and how will the data of the respondent be protected? How will the privacy of the respondent be protected? Okay, we just mentioned that there will be anonymity. That the respondents will be anonymous. They will not be identified in any way. Okay, so you have to mention how will privacy be protected, what personal or identifiable data will be obtained, and who will have access to this data. Next one, if applicable, what happens if the respondent is injured along the way? Like for example, if you're going to conduct a study on the level, of the, should we say, effectiveness of a game-based learning or game-based strategy in teaching. So you will employ games in your classrooms. Along the way, maybe, while playing the games, because that is your strategy, there might be an injury that might be caused to the pupils. So what will happen, or what will you do in case that respondent will be injured or will experience discomfort or distress? So you have to mention that in the informed consent. Next one, will the respondents be having to be paying anything? Will the respondents be receiving something, or will they be paid? Okay? And of course, who can the respondent call if there will be questions that will rise or that will be the concern of the respondent? Okay? After that, then the name and signature of your respondent, the date, and then your name and signature, the date as the researcher. Question. Clarification. So basically, those are the contents of your informed consent. Parental consent, if in the informed consent you are writing a letter to the participant directly, parental consent you are asking permission from the parent. So the only difference is this time the letter is addressed to the parent, but the contents basically are the same. So you will say your child is being asked to participate. There will be no risk, or if there are risks, here are the risks of that. But basically the content are the same. Only that the receiver will be different. This time it will be the parent of the participant. Question. Malinaw? Let me go to the institutional reading. A while ago, the last topic was institutional review. Okay? It is a mandate from JET, particularly CMO 15 series of 2019, that there will be an ethics review that will be conducted for all researches that will be done by the students as well as faculty members or personnel. And so in UPAM, we have what we call institutional review of research, and all researchers pass through the institutional review, whether it is in the undergrad or in the graduate school. So all research will have to pass through what we call ethics review. Other institutions, I don't know if they have the ethics review, but for us, before you can gather the data, you must be given a certificate of approval coming from the one who will do the review. Okay? So, so we have research because one of the trifocal function of the university is research. Basically, if you are a university, you have three basic functions. You have your instruction, you are going to teach the students. You have the extension, that is you have to provide services to the community. And the third one, you have the research. So research is one of the trifocal function of the institution. That's why CHED, when it conducts visit, is always going to ask for these three areas: instruction, extension, and research. In UPAM, here is the structure, but it is now changed because I am no longer here. So there is someone who took my position because I have to go to another college, because I have to be in that college. Okay? So basically, this is the structure for the research ethics review. Okay? So the University Research Center will determine the type of review that will be conducted, whether it be a full day, expedited review, or exempted from review. Exempted from review if your study does not harm or does not, should we say, does not involve any harm or will not have an impact to the participants, to animals, to wildlife. It will not use toxic materials, etc. And take note that is with all types of research. Sometimes research will have an impact to wildlife, for example. Like for example, if you are going to study about the impact of the, should we say, mangrove, for example, mangrove is part and parcel of wildlife. If you're going to study about Philippine eagle, that is wildlife. It will have an impact on the ecosystem. Right? And then if sometimes studies will make use of chemicals. So how will chemicals be, should we say, safeguarded? That's a way it will not harm other people. But the point is that if there will be no apparent harm to different individuals, entities, etc., then it will be exempted from review. But normally we do not have exempted from review. The second type is the expedited review. In the expedited review, it will be conducted by just the director. And after reviewing the proposal that you will be submitting, then he or she will issue the research ethics certificate of approval. If your study will cause harm, then it will not be expedited review, it will be full review. In full review, the research committee, should we say, the research ethics review committee will be asked to convene. Research Ethics Review Committee, composition, we have the director of the School of Graduate and Studies, we have the director of the Research Center, we have 2 colleagues dean, we have 1 lawyer, we have 1 religious person, we have 1 psychologist, and 1 sociologist. So they will be convened to review your research ethics application because the research is posing, should we say, harm or risk to individuals. But if it will not, then it will simply be an expedited review. It will not convene the Research Ethics Review Committee. It will go directly to the University Research Center. One of the members of the Research Ethics Review Committee will review your application. And normally it is the director of research that will conduct the review. Okay? And upon review, sometimes you will be asked to submit other documents. So you need to submit those documents. That will be the revision, and then after that, you have the approval. Okay? What do you normally submit in the application? We have the application form. You will receive that. Soft copy, of course. You have the general research ethics checklist, and you have the checklist for studies involving human participants. Okay? You need to put there also the informed consent or the parental consent. That is part and parcel of the submission. You will also have to submit your curriculum vitae because the reviewer will have to see if you are qualified to conduct the study that you are proposing. So you need to put there your curriculum vitae. Aside from that, you have to submit your research proposal. Normally, it is chapter 1 and chapter 2 only because we are now following your game run. Before, the studies always have 5 chapters before. Like we have introduction. After that, then you have review of related literature. After that, you have your methodology. After that, you have the results and discussion. Then after that, you have your conclusions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. So you have 5 chapters for your study. Always this format. Right now, we do not want that format anymore. Why? Because that will make your study thick and masyadong makapal. Okay? Ayaw namin ng makapal. At ang nagpapakapal is chapter 2. Okay? Chapter 2, review of related literature. Ang kapal niya, pag inalis mo yan, kakunti na yan, 30 pages na lang. Okay? So right now, we remove that. are following the M format. Introduction, methodology, resource, and discussion. That is your chapter 4 here, but that is your chapter 3 now. And of course, the findings, conclusions, recommendation. So you only have 4 chapters: introduction, methodology, results and discussion, and findings, conclusions, recommendations. 4 chapters. Okay? So since in the research ethics review application, you have to submit the proposal, then you have to submit these 2 chapters. Okay? Plus, of course, your references, because you will have references. Okay? So ngayon, yung thesis na yun, 30 pages, 40 pages. Tama na. Kasi noon, 100, 150, 200, hindi naman binabasa ng paano ng pagyan, di ba? Kung gano'n ka, paano? Okay, so kailangan manipis na. Claro. So right now, our format is introduction, methodology, results, and discussion. Plus, of course, the last chapter, which is around 2 pages or 3 pages, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Claro. Okay now? Aside from that, if your study will involve individuals who are under the supervision of a supervisor, maybe, a manager, or an administrator, then you need to attach in your application the letter address to this administrator, to this manager, to this boss, asking permission to conduct the study. So for example, your study will involve your students. These students are under the supervision of your principal. So you have to ask permission from the principal for the conduct of the study. So you have to attach that letter. Okay? If your study will involve teachers in your school only, then of course, you as teachers are under the supervision of your principal. So you have to attach that letter. If your studies will involve teachers from different schools, from different districts, they are governed by your school division superintendent. So you have to ask permission from the school division superintendent for the conduct of the study. Malinaw. And those will be the things that you will submit in the institutional review or in the research ethics review application. When you're going to conduct your action research, you will follow the same format or the same procedure, or you will follow this procedure, I should say. Questions? So what will be examined? These are the things that will be examined by your reviewer. Is the research design correct? Instrument. Is the instrument valid? Or yung pre-testimony or post-testimony? Is the survey questionnaire valid? Etc. So these are the things that will be evaluated. Okay? We ask the management to buy an application that will check the plagiarism. At least 80% should not be plagiarized. 20% mahal na plagiarize yan. Pero pag hindi umabot sa 80% threshold, ibalik ang proposal. So there will be a check. To now, however, it's not checked off by management. So we asked the management to buy that before when I was still the director. We also asked management to buy MDO or MBio for qualitative research and SPSS something for statistical treatment. So, eto, yung review. No reviewer when you apply for research ethics. Review. Question. Yeah.
Director of the American Studies, perhaps, and then they're
on the part of the research director, he or she will not be able to know that. But they know that although people all the studies may be the same, somehow the respondents may be different. Okay? The locale may be different. For example, if you're going to look at the stress level of pictures. If a study is done on the stress level of pictures in Japan, you may use the instrument and conduct study in the Philippines, the stress level of pictures. When you conduct the study, you have to limit the study. You cannot gather all the pictures in the Philippines that will not be passed on. So you are going to limit. The pictures are the pictures of the public elementary school in the Guban. So you now conduct the study, and this is your finding. They have high stress level. So stress level of pictures of public elementary schools in the Guban City. And here comes another researcher. He is also going to conduct a study on the stress level of pictures. But this time, the stress level of secondary school teachers. So it's the same, but it becomes different. Why? Because the respondents are the same. Or the stress level of public elementary school in Mangatanong, for example, or Marasquite. It might be the same with the procedure with the study conducted in the Guban City, but it will become different because the respondents are from Mangatanong. So it might be the same, but the sources of data may be different. The problems might also be different. Like for example, using the same thing, when you want to look at the stress level of the teachers, stress level. So the focus is the stress level. Sometimes, before you go to the stress level of the teachers, sometimes you will gather data in relation to AIDS. Because maybe, masyadong na-stress at medyo matanda na. Dahil medyo bata-bata yung teacher, okay lang yan. So you're going to also conduct a study and gather data with respect to children. Because maybe, pag si babae ang nagtuturo, medyo pasensyoso, okay lang. Pero pag si teacher na lalaki, mainitin ang ulo. Okay? After that, you get stress level. Problem number one, what is the profile of the teachers in terms of age, in terms of gender? Number two, what is the stress level of teachers? Number three, is there a relationship between the profile of the teachers and the stress level? That is the study. And here comes another study conducted in the same place. In the same place, conducted to the same respondents. Stress level of teachers. Okay, number two is stress level of teachers. But this time, instead of age, instead of gender, we did not look into that. It will look into the grade level of the teachers. It will look into the self-efficacy level of teachers. After that, the stress level. And then, is there a relationship between the grade level and self-efficacy level of teaching of the teachers and their level or their stress level? So, although the same study about stress level, basically they are still different because the profiles are different. So maybe the studies might be the same, but substantially they're still different. Okay? Because the first place some studies you don't know, they are published. Other questions? Questions? Many were not here last time, and so many do not have groups yet. Do you now have groups? Or no groups yet? And then after that, we have to choose, so you have to choose your topic. But for those who have groups already, and they are those already, there is no problem. Okay, I will do later on. Okay, na lang mag-group. Part of the The next topic supposedly is research approaches. I don't know someone or a group already took this place or took this topic. The next one is research methods. Simple lang sa GC to, para sa mawalan soft copy. So after that, we have the research process, theoretical framework, conceptual framework, then research problem. We have the research hypothesis, we have data collection, we have data analysis, and then we have validation. In the number 10, we will be discussing, I don't know if we will be meron lang ng group na may ko. Can I just insert this every time that we still have time? So as for us to be able to know how to use the weighting, how to use the t-test, how to use the chi-square, etc. Okay, pwede? Okay lang? Okay. So, since we still have time, then let's start it again. When you are going to have the profile, for example, the statistical treatment that you will use is frequency count and percentage. So, bibilangin lang. Okay? Like for example, how many are... So, you're going to get a profile of the students. How many are 6 years old? How many are 7? How many are 8? How many are 9? In here, there is an age bracket. Bakit? Kasi yung mga teachers sometimes hindi naman ng 20 years old. Hindi naman ng 29, hindi naman ng 30. So, kailangan mo i-group yung grades. So, 20 to 30 years old, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, etc. So, how many are 20 to 30? 78. So, yun yung frequency count. Bibilangin mo na. Okay? How many are 31 to 40? 97. Bibilangin mo na. After that, you get the percentage. So, get the total, 60. Then get the percentage. How will you get the percentage? 78 times 1. Ano? 78 times 100 over 260. Tama? Tama? Yun. There's the formula. So 78 times 100 over the total, 260. Tapos, i-track mo lang yan. So, halimbawa, tama yan. Wala pala dyan. Using your Excel para hindi na kayo mahirapan. Huwag na yung calculator. So, put the formula, always equal sign. Then get the number times 100 over 260. Lalabas na yan. So, pag nakuha mo na, i-drag mo lang yan. Control-C, bababa. Lalabas na yan. That is for percentage. Okay? The same holds true with the mean. If you are going to get the mean score, so in the case of mean, yung mean or sometimes mean percentage score, that is to say average also. Okay? So for example, if there are 3 grades or if there are many grades, 7, 87, 88, 90, you are going to get the mean, yung average, i-total lang yan, tapos get that, or divide it by the number. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the total. So, total sum. After that, get the mean equals 503 over 6. That is the mean score. Or that is the mean percentage score. Using your exam. Now, the mean is different from the weighted mean. Okay? Magkaiba yan. In the case of the weighted mean, for example, if you're going to gather data what is the stress level of the teachers, for example, or the soft efficacy level, the teachers will have choices. Like, for example, low level, very low level, moderate level, high level, and then very high level. So the teachers have choices. Manilinis na doon sa 5 choices. And then you have, for example, 100 participants. They will have different answers to the different questions. Okay, some will say moderate, some will say high, some will say low, etc. If that will be the case, and you're looking at the stress level, the general stress level of all teachers, then you have to use your weighted mean. Okay? How do you get the weighted mean? So, for example, this one, there are, so a while ago it said there are 260 participants, right? Those are research participants again. And then, for example, there are 5 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 questions, for example. If there are 7 questions, and then they're going to answer with 5 different choices. Maybe number 1 is very low, number 2 is low, number 3 is moderate, number 4 is high, number 5 is very high. Then you're going to tabulate the answers. Ilan dyan ang sumagot sa number 1 ng 2, ilan dyan ang sumagot sa number 1 ng 3, ilan dyan ang sumagot sa number 1 ng 4, ng 5, etc. For example here, sa number 1 question, ang sumagot ng 0 or ng 1 ay wala. Ang sumagot ng 2 ay wala. Ang sumagot ng 3 ay 68. Ang sumagot ng 4 ay 116. Ang sumagot ng 3 ay 76. Second question, ang sumagot ng 3 ay 64. Sumagot ng 4 ay 120. Sumagot ng 5 ay 76. And the rest for the 7 remaining items. So you now have the tabulated data. After that, you will compute for the weighted mean. And then weighted mean, first equal sign, open parenthesis, get this number, yung ilan sa number 3. Yung 68 sa number 3. So, yung 68 na sumagot ng number 3. So, get that number times 3. Kasi 3 yung nato sa taas. Okay? Not 1. And then after that, close parenthesis, and then you have 1 and 4. Do that for all the rest. Nasa 3. Tapos, kung sa number 4. So, let me control C. Let me drag. Sa number 4 naman, ito naman. Okay? 110 times 4. 120 times 4. 110 times 4. So, the same thing. So, equal sign. 116 times 4. Close. Enter. After that, drag it because you will do the same thing for all the items. Okay? So, see. Enter. Sa Excel, after that, the last is for number 5. There will be 5 here if there are 5. Pero wala sa number 1, wala sa number 2. Kaya yalis ko na si 1 and 2. Si 3, 4, 5 na lang. Okay? So next one, yung 5 naman. So yung 6 times 5. Enter. Control C. Control V. Okay? So we now have this data. Then you get the weighted mean. You add them. You add this one with this one with this one. Okay? Ilan sila? Total is 260 over 260. So that is the weighted mean. For number 1. Wala ka pa number 2, number 3, number 4, up to number 7. So, let me get the weighted mean for all rest. So that. After that, get the weighted mean for all. So that weighted mean will be applicable for all your teachers for all the questions. So get the weight mean. How do you do that? You total and then over 7. Over 7. 7. So that is the weighted mean for the entire process, or the entire, should we say, population. So what is the stress level? It is 4.05. If you're going to interpret 4.05, 4.05 is in the high level. Okay? So you need to get the scale. Normally the scale is 1 to 1.49, 1.50 to 2.49, 2.50 to 3.49, 3.50 to 4.49, 4.50 to 5, and 4.70 is here. So that is high stress level. So that level. Now, if you have two sets of respondents, what is the level of performance of the teachers as viewed by themselves and as viewed by the principal? So, parehas na weighted mean, nalalaman mo. Perception ng weighted ng teacher, they have high performance. Perception ng principal, they have moderate performance. So, you will ask, is there a significant difference between the assessment of the teachers and the principal? So you will get the difference if it is significant or not. We will say you will compare this weighted mean and this weighted mean. Okay? Ayon, perception ng teacher. Ito, perception ng principal. 260 yung principal, yung teachers. Dito, ang principal ay 54 lang. Okay? Siyempre, mas maraming teacher. Dahil sa isang school, isa lang ang principal. So you get the weighted mean, high performance, dito, average performance. How will you get or how will you know if the perception of the teachers is different from the perception of the principal? The moment that you're asked to know the difference or to know if there is a significant difference, then you will only use the t-test to know the difference or to know if the difference is significant. So how will you do that in Excel? In Excel, you need to get the t-value. Okay? If you are going to compute for the t-value, the moment that it is lower than 0.05, then there is a significant difference. The moment is 0.05 or higher, then there is no significant difference. Right? So you're going to compute for the t-value. And the moment that you have the t-value, compare it with 0.05. Ano yung 0.05? That is the margin of error or error margin. Doon nyo siya ibabangka. Okay? So pag lower than 0.05, there is significant difference. If it is 0.05 or higher, there is no significant difference. So how do you compute for the t-value? Equal sign, tapos pumunta ka sa formulas. Okay? Nasa Excel tayo. Repeat. Doon mo ilalagay yung t-value, equal sign, tapos punta ka sa formula. Doon sa formula, mayroon kang choices. Okay? Functions, math, etc. Nasa more functions yan. Yung formula ng t-test. Okay? kung ginamit ko na siya noon, huwag mo na siya hanapin. Okay? Kung ginamit ko na siya noon, punta na lang po sa recent use. So, I will use the recent use para hindi mo na hanapin. So, natuon si t-test. Okay? At yan. T-test. You just hit the t-test. Lalabas yan. Okay? Para hindi na kayo magkamanol. Ayaw mo po ng manual na computation matagal. Okay? Pagkatapos yan, array 1, sabi yan ba? Array 2, days, time. Okay mo yan? Array 1, echo. Yung first, yung isa lang. Okay? Gandiyan lang muna kasi masyadong mahaba sa baba, kaya yung sa part lang. After that, array 2. Lalabas, kunin mo naman yung weighted mean principal. Okay? Yung kinumpit na weighted mean ng principal. Okay? After that, 2 tail, t-test. Okay? Tapos, after that, time, 3 unequal variance. Okay? Maraming teacher. Cut off is principal. Dito lang. Kaya tayo ng 3. After that, you click okay. And now we have the t-value. Okay? Pag nagganyan, negative 11, ibig sabihin niya, yung point, the decimal point, bilang mo ng 11. Okay? So, ang lalabas niya, kung ang lalabas ay 2.79. 2.79. Sabi niya, 11. So, lalabas niya 0.00. Diba? Kasi 0 yan. Okay, follow. So, lalabas, tapos 11 pa yan. 0.00. Is 0.00 higher than 0.05? No, it is lower. Diba? Therefore, there is a significant difference between the perception of the teachers and the respondents. Claro? Malinaw. Okay? Next. Sabi natin, relationship between age and stress level. Is there a relationship, or does the age of the teacher influence the stress level of the teacher? Does the gender of the teacher influence the stress level of the teacher? The moment that there is a significant relationship, you use chi-square, or maybe you can use person R. Okay? So, dalawa ang pwede mong gamitin. Person R or the chi-square. Okay? Malinaw. Pero matrabaho. Anyway, let's start. So, halimbawa, kapag mo si Gates sa stress level, or here is the performance level. So, a while ago, our profile is this one, 20 to 30, 78, which is 30%. 31 to 40, 97. Tama? Good. Ibang profile ko rin. So, bagong profile. So, parehas yan. So, ito naman, yung age niya, ang total niya is 2.7. Yung age na naman. Okay? So, magbabagay mo si stress, yung age niya doon sa stress level, for example. So, 20 to 40, pinagsama na. 20 to 40, 76 plus 95. 76 plus 95, that is 90, 160, 171. Tama? Tama? 171. So, pagdating mo kung sa niya, is 171. Tama? More than 40, 76. Total is 247. Tapos, ano naman to? Ito yung low, high, etc. Pero ang ginamit dyan kasi, intermediate to advanced, instead of moderate to high, and then proficient instead of high level. So, parehas lang kayo ang set to. So, kung gusto nyo palitan ko, ito very high, ito moderate to high. Lang yun, parehas lang. Yung moderate to high, mayroon ko 173 years. Yung high, 74. Okay? Nakuha. So, nandiyan, parang tinablet ko lang. After nung matablet yan, ay kailangan mong malaman ilan sa 171 na yan ang moderate to high. Tablet ulit, ilan ang very high. So here, sa tabulation, 123 out of 171 ay moderate to high. 48 out of 171 ang very high. The same holds true to 76. Tatawin ulit. Doon sa 76 na yan, ilan ang moderate to high? Ilan ang very, very high? Okay? So pag natabulate ko na, yung 171 na yan, total mo yan, 171 yan. 176 yan, total mo yung dalawa, 76 yan. Yung 72 doon, pag tinutan mo yung dalawa, 74 din yan. Parehas yung 173, pag tinutan mo yung dalawa, 173. We call that actual value. So dito, yan ang actual value. Okay? In the null or in the chi-square, aside from the actual value, you have the expected value. Ito ang expected value. Okay? How will you get expected value? Kaya nyo yung nandoon. 171, nagano ito. Yung 76, nagano ito. 173, ito yun. 174. After that, you multiply doon sa mga yun, sa cell na yun, this cell, you multiply this value with this value, lalabas yun. Dito sa next cell, multiply this value with that value. Okay? Like, ito naman, multiply this value with this value at lalabas siya. Okay? So, let me put it. 173 times 171. Central. 173 times 76. Next. 74 times 171. So this is now the expected value. Kapag pinamahan yan, matagal yan. Okay? This one, medyo matagal. Ito yung gilid one ko. Okay? This one, it has its own formula. But the point is that, if you have computed for this one, lalabas dyan ang chi-square value at ang critical value. Never mind. Lalabas dyan ang critical value. Ito. Chi-square value. So, gano'n. Pag lumabas dyan si chi-square value, i-compare mo lang yan kung sa critical value. Okay? Anong critical value yan? Constant yan. Parang parehas na value yan. Okay? Depending doon sa degrees of freedom. Ito, parehas na 2, parehas na 3.84, kasi dalawa palagi ang variable dito, dalawa rin palagi ang variable dito. Pag naging tatlo yan, magbabago yan. Kasi magkakaiba ng degrees of freedom. Pero pag dalawa dyan, dalawa dito, parehas yan. Ito ang lalabas. Pag naging tatlo-tatlo, magkukompute ka ng bagong critical value. Kasi iba na yung degrees of freedom. Wala pa isa. Pag na-compute nyo na, lalabas dyan yung chi-square value at critical value. I-compare mo ngayon si chi-square at si critical value. Okay? Dahil sa Tama? So, since the chi-square value is lower than the critical value, then there is no significant relationship between the aids and the stress level. Therefore, the stress level is not influenced by the aids of the teacher. Right? Or sex. Mas ay hayop. Eto, hayop ba? Yung computed chi-square value. Since mataas ang computed chi-square kaysa sa critical, then the findings that since the computed chi-square value of 7.57 is higher than the critical value of 3.84, then it implies then the gender of the teachers is then there's significant relationship between the gender of the teachers and their stress level. Therefore, the stress level of the teachers is influenced by the gender of the teachers. Yun na, may significant relationship. Right? So just compute for the chi-square value, then you will know if there is a relationship between one variable with another variable. Next meeting, I will teach you how to compute for this. Para kayo na mag-compute. Normal naman pag actual research, nagagawin mo lang dyan frequency percentage. Tapos, frequency percentage mean, yung average. Plus the test, kung compare mo yung difference ng post-test at pre-test. Pag i-compare mo ang difference between pre-test and post-test, huwag kang gagamit kung diba, ang ginamit ko rin ay 2. Tama? Magbabago ka yan. Pag i-compare mo ang result ng pre-test at post-test, they know it comes from the same units. Diba? Awala ko kasi nanggaling sa teachers at saka nanggaling sa principal. Magkaibang source ng data. Pero kung pre-test at post-test, the data will come from the same source. That is your students. Maaaring tabi sila. So, parehas ang procedure. Kukunin mo yung array 1, kukunin mo yung array 2. Tapos, tail. There is still 2 tail. Yung sa type, magbabago ka. Hanapin mo yung pair. Kasi, kukumpare mo si post-test sa kasi pre-test ng isang estudyante. Kaya pag-pair mo yung result ng one nila post. Pre-test ito, post-test ito. I-pair mo yung dalawa. So, pair, t-test. So, hanapin mo dyan yung pair. Sabi niya, pair 1. Okay? So, sabi niya, pair 1. So, gamitin mo doon instead of 3 ay 1. Which means, pair, t-test. Kino-compare mo si pre-test at saka si post-test. At nawa niya, ito ang lalabas. Still, no significant difference. Kasi, negative pa rin sila. Okay? Mali lang. Questions? So, for our activity, I have created the G classroom. Nasa GC natin. You are going to make, or you think of a study, and you are going to make an informed concept for that particular study that you are going to conceptualize. So, kung ano man ang study niyan, igawa niyo siya ng informed concept. I will create the place in the Google Classroom where you're going to submit your informed concept. So, I will send you again the link where you will submit your informed concept. We have given you the contents of the informed concept. So, take the study, whatever study that may be. Of course, because in the informed consent of the title, you have conceptualized the title of the study. Okay? Okay, and then put all the necessary information that are needed when you make any one outside. Questions? Am I going to group you for those who group, no group, or are you going to just choose your members? Kasi hindi ko kayo kailangan ko.
Sir, may I ask, yung sa action research po ba, sir, individual with or with
Yeah.
action research na
Actually,
napagano pag sa teacher?
yung sa school,
Yes, sir, yung ganyan po.
yung sa atin, yung research proposal, tingnan natin kung group or individual. Baka ayaw na lang individual. Anyway, it's just the proposal. What you sabi is the proposal. That is one group. The branch of methodologies. You will not gather data. Kasi pag mag-gather ka, yun na yung action research team sa MEC. Okay? Just group yourselves then. After that, just put in the GC the group members and then the topics that you're going to present. Yes. Present.
Sir, yung informed consent na gagawin later are individual.
Individual. So you
Just for
have
the sake of the compliance and sa activities.
don't sa
Sa
it's activity. But then the proposal that you're saying is different. That will be the term requirement or the subject requirement.
So kahit ano muna study and research sa
Yes. Okay? Okay now? I will send the link later on. Gagawa pa ako ng link kung ng classroom. Ay, ng classroom. Ng folder para sa informed consent.
Sir, parang I think hindi na po kailangan mag-send ng link for the...
Kasi pwede, hindi. Para ma-separate.
Ano po sir, lalabas naman po yun sa email. Mag-email naman po. Pag may post na po kayo dun sa Google Classroom na may classwork po kami, nagno-notify naman po sa amin.
Kung nag-add na kayo lahat, kung hindi kayo nag-add ko, hindi kailangan naman ng link ba? I did not use the yung pang account kasi sa akin ko nag-add different account. So I created a different account. Okay? So, klaro? So, let's call it a day. But we have to make informed consent.